second episode of Beyond the Workstation. When I think about today's guest, I'm almost speechless. Being an overachiever himself, he brings with him a legacy of excellence. His father held a prominent position at ISRO, and his circle includes illustrious friends like Narayan Murthy. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's hear from Dr. Subramaniam Murthy, the Chief Strategy Officer and Board Member at Infogen Labs.
Very good morning, Subbu, and namaste from India.
Very good morning and namaste from United States of America.
So let me first welcome you for our second episode of Beyond the Workstation podcast, which is powered by Infogen Labs. So we are super excited to have you over here, and I have a lot of topics to chat with you around. So without wasting further time, I might want to directly jump on the topics if you're all okay with it.
I'm fine, and it's a pleasure to be here because I love the people at Infogen. I love the culture that Infogen has put together. So it's a pleasure for me. Okay.
Awesome. That's great to know. So, Subbu, we are very keen to know about your life journey through your own words itself.
Sure. And, I always say this because we come from the Indian culture. Everybody's life journey has a component of Mahabharata in it. It's hard not to have the pluses and minuses. But from the personal story, it has been always one of simplicity, and I'm being blessed with good friends, including the founder of Infogen, Sanjeev, and I know for decades now, and have led a very simple life, not hurting others. So my philosophies are very simple. Keep to yourself, but respect others and do not hurt others. So it's been on the personal side. And that
Wow.
on the social side, my dad was a very big philanthropist. He was one on the board of governing council of ISRO and in Indian Institute of Science. He brought a lot of things to the table in life without asking anything for himself, which was a great role model for me in my growing up life. And I was blessed to have, as I said, a good school. I went to a school called National High School, which was attended by none other than blessed by Mahatma Gandhi in his time had come to the school. And Mountbatten, when he created the movie Gandhi, had come to our school when I was actually in high school. And I didn't realize that the movie would be produced in 1980 when I was in US. So I went from high school to college. And from college, I went to a local engineering college. And that college has produced many good people, including founders of big institutes in Silicon Valley. And as I went through the college, I graduated at a young age of 20. I came to US to do my master's. And from then, from the 70s, I've been in US. I became a programmer. I was in flight control systems, wrote software that flew planes, and moved into the defense industry, where I was working on missiles. And then I got a break to go to Jet Propulsion Lab in my career. Jet Propulsion Lab was a very big place because they talked not only about technology, but the R&D behind technology. And I was involved with the team that actually built the first database, and that became eventually Oracle. And then I was involved with a team that was doing libraries, which became the .NET platform, which Microsoft took over. So JPL produced a lot of new things. In fact, the whole notion of database from COTS database was created when they were looking at a thing called Voyager that still is flying, by the by. And so JPL was affiliated with Caltech, was very research centric. So I spent about 8 years there, and that was very helpful in my growth as an individual. And I moved on from JPL to a small company, and that's where I actually met Sanjeev. In fact, Sanjeev and I designed the first version of Java scripting language. And you may not know this, but Sanjeev actually wrote the code. And I was designing the specs for testing, which reshaped how testing was done in the early 90s in the medical industry. And that company sold and was doing well. I was just an employee of the company. And so from that journey I started my own companies then, and I got into Y2K. That was very successful and met very good people. Even today, I'm very good friends with Narayan Murthy and all. I met a lot of them. They've still remained friends. Um, and uh, and also at the same token, I started seeing progress of Sanjeev as well. Sanjeev was doing very well in his career. So as I was building my career in engineering, I felt I should move to a non-engineering discipline. So I became a chief information officer. And as a chief information officer now, I was a buyer of technology, not a builder of technology. It gave me a different perspective.
Yeah.
So far, I'd only been thinking about technology and its excellence. But as a buyer, I started thinking about value and judgment, which was important. And from that, I started small companies, and then we work with Infogen now. I have a product side as well. So the journey has been very good. Just learning. You never can stop learning in this field. And interestingly, the education field in parallel, I worked on a PhD. So I got my master's and a PhD while all the career was going on, the education field. But the more you read, the less you know. You feel there's so much more. And that's the ocean that we are in. I feel like we're in an ocean. So that's my journey. And in all crosses, personal, social, and professional, I simply feel I'm just a visitor on a small island called Subbu in the big ocean that we live in. It's the journey.
Wow. I mean, I'm still absorbing all. It's awesome. I mean,
Did I go too fast or did I?
no, it was awesome. I mean, it's I've been listening about you from the colleagues, and I've been willing to meet you or have an interaction. And today I'm getting and then knowing a bit more about you. And it's not a bit, but it's so much. And as you started, you said about your personal, your professional, and social life. It's very interesting. I mean, I'm sure we are lucky enough to have you as in part of Infogen and getting chance to work with you.
It's
So
my pleasure, really. As I said, there is so much to learn, and the journey continues.
true.
And I think what Infogen under you, Sanjeev, and all has set up is that learning ability. I see that. I see that enthusiasm, and that's very encouraging to me.
Yeah. You mentioned about Mahabharata. I'll be coming on that point because that's something which is my favorite, personal favorite uh, side as well. It has changed my life a lot. But before that, I'm keen to know, like, 4 decades or plus you're in this industry, not a short span at all, I'm sure.
Yes.
Right. And we being just a decade or plus in this industry, we are on plans of retirement and all, but working for more than 4 decades, I'm curious to know, like, how you keep up with this changing culture, trend, technology. I mean, what's your secret? One, I know it's learning is all that you believe in, but how you manage with it with this demanding profession of an IT?
It's a very good question. I mean, there are many techniques. For example, some people believe in deep diving into learning books, and they constantly spend time. And today, with the opening of ChatGPT, with the opening from Google to ChatGPT to Bard and all, there's so many sources of learning. But we don't have to go that far. If we look at our own culture, if you want to study, there are so many books, especially independent of which philosophy you follow. Doesn't matter. There's books, then there is what is called preachings and commentaries. And there's a third method, which I tend to, because is listening, Shravanam, as they say.
Yeah.
And I tend to talk a lot, which is also good, but hidden behind that is the ability to listen. And I think it's in an ocean, you can't see everything, and you have to accept that. But you tend to build expertise in some areas where you can share. So you learn so that you don't, can share. If you take that view, like you become a teacher. A teacher is, that's applied to me, one of the noblest professions that can be, because you learn to share. Okay. And so if you take that attitude, you learn with interest, not with, fear or suspicion or just greed. So that is important. And also to recognize that it's an ocean. You cannot learn everything. If you take the field of music, just FYI, Bhimsen Joshi stayed with us, just to mention this.
Wow.
And I took him to Las Vegas and I'd asked him, and he just kept on saying that, teacher listening. So teacher mentorship, which is very critical. You get mentors in life, not just one mentor. So one way to be in this field and keep up, definitely you have to do some reading, but it's exhaustive. How much can you read? I mean, there's only time. And then there is practice. So you practice certain things, what you learn, which is good, but listen. And that is become my more dominant one now. So I belong to several groups. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm connected to over 15,000. So there is some things summarized. So for example, I might call Sanjeev and say, Sanjeev, is AI really sentient? Can we discuss it? And Sanjeev brings all his wealth of expertise into the table, right? So likewise, I can call somebody, my friend Ken Venner. He was CIO at SpaceX. Sanjeev knows him well. And he's now CIO at Sierra Space. So I can ask him, what made this whole space thing so inexpensive, which was so expensive before when I was at JP? So he'll give concise answer. In fact, the answer to that question is, in the traditional models, we never took risk. Whereas SpaceX, Elon Musk took risk. He said, out of 100 spacecraft, I'm willing to lose 10. I said, okay. Then he brought the cost down by a factor of 10, which means he was still much cheaper than. And in JPL, we did not, our design was to be perfect. So perfection, going from that 90% to 100% takes so much, right? In fact, as we see in software, you can get very quickly to the 90%, but to get it to work, that last mile takes a long sweat. This is not working, this is not working, right?
Yeah.
So that, and similar, so what happens is, if you get into that space, you can't cross all of it. So that 10%, if you start listening, you will reduce, oh, really? So that learning comes from studying, practicing, and listening. The third part, sadly, is missing. But COVID happened. See, people started working from home. Well, there is some productivity gain because you can do many things, but they also missed that coffee talk. You'll be at taking a coffee and people will be chatting. Hey, how did you do this? You missed that. You missed those. So that, I think, listening to people, and I have not stopped that. And today, most of my learning comes from listening to scholars. And today, with all the technology, your podcast of a very simple person, but there are very big people who provide podcasts. You can listen to them, learn from them. Okay? That's. But the key to this is you select scholars. So that is the key.
Yeah, true, right.
Right. See, and that's one of the reasons why these things are good, because I believe Sanjeev also did a podcast. Okay. And
yes,
those provide actually as though you're face to face. You can't be face to face with all the Infogen people, but this provides a mechanism for us. So if I have to, I rarely advise people, but I say that learning from listening is a very underrated skill. Most people believe in the traditional textbook, read, exam, practice, but listening is a very powerful thing.
I totally agree with this. I mean, we see a lot of people listen to respond.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it's one is to react, one is to respond. And that's where actually listening is all about, right? Exactly. How much you listen, understand, and then how you respond to it.
Exactly.
I mean, I completely agree. Listening is also one of the key factors.
Yes.
Awesome. So the next point that I want to discuss with you, right? Because it happens very easily in today's time with everyone. I mean, no need of putting any specific generation also. Anything goes well, anything is happening best, someone gets overwhelmed. If things are not falling in place, they may get disappointed. Same thing must have happened with you also, I'm sure, because as in the start you also mentioned, life is all about they may get disappointed. Same thing must have happened with you also, I'm sure, because as in the start you also mentioned, life is all about ups and downs. So how, what is that uh, motivation, or what is the source which keeps you going on?
Very good question. And we have to keep searching, okay, like for everything else. But one thing that I learned, and I can give a small anecdote
Mhm.
of a person that happened just about 3 weeks back. And Sanjeev particularly knows this person, inquired about the person. I know a gentleman, it was in the press actually. And he was 78 years old. And since his wife passed away about a decade back, he started hiking with Americans. And
Okay.
and he hikes a lot. At 78, around 8,000 feet, he got lost. He had taken enough food and water for a day. These are all day hikes. And Sanjeev does a lot of hiking. I do a lot of hiking.
Yeah.
And he got lost and they couldn't find him. 2 nights he survived in the forest where there are wild animals, bears, mountain lions, snakes. He optimized the water. We all thought it's done. And finally, there he's survived. Not only survived, I have to get to go see him because he was in the hospital. He's come out and all that. But his message was one thing. And I think that message I want to share. No matter what, don't stop trying. I mean, that was such a powerful thing from a person and this is what my father also taught me. The best you can do in life is to make the effort. Sometimes results don't go, many times results don't go your way. Okay. So that energy, you can draw from the fact that what we have with us really can't control the outcome. You're driving carefully. Somebody may suddenly come, right? You cannot control that.
Correct.
But yet, your alertness, that your leg is on the brake, your hand is on the steering wheel, those we can control. So I always believe that this do not be because since the results are not in our hands, only effort is. Should not stop. And I'm 68 years old. I'm not retired and I won't retire. Because it gives, and the second part, if you want to make this easier, try to do things that you enjoy.
Yeah, very important.
Right? So, for example, I enjoy cooking, I enjoy hiking, I enjoy music, I enjoy bridge, I enjoy cricket, all these things. So mix with that, and you must, and work. If you think it's work, oh, I must go. You know what? Find yourself a new job. Income, and that's, I think, what we all discuss is make the work your point to be, have joy. Okay, that's why I think it's so important, the culture of the organization. And I'll tell you that there I'm very happy with what I see at Infogen. We have come and visited you guys. There's that camaraderie. I went to Bangalore, met with Sandeep and the young team there. All this gives me the warm feeling, and it's our job as leaders of the company to make sure that the people who come and work as pleasure. There is some pressure because of external circumstances which we can't control. Our customers come and say this must be done at this time, but those are just one aspect. Okay, but if you make the job enjoyable, and especially if you look at it today, we have a whole field of AI that has suddenly burst open. In technology particularly, if you are a machinist doing the same thing, even there, I've seen people who enjoy their work. I respect them a lot, by the way. in our field, we are blessed. The things keep changing. So what we know yesterday becomes irrelevant today. So we can keep learning. Okay. There is never a shame to say, I don't know. I want to learn. I think that is my only point here, is that you have to keep trying. And if you enjoy what you're doing, like cooking, for example, if cooking becomes a chore, it becomes a chore. But if you enjoy cooking, then it becomes a joy, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, completely agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's keep trying. So, I mean, today we have tendency to give up and take another option quickly because they are available.
Exactly.
But what about our passion in that particular field, where we started, why we started? We forget at times.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we should remember why we started, and we have came this long. For sure, we have done something great. So we should keep trying more, and success is for sure.
Exactly. And that's why I'm saying we're so blessed at Infogen. We have AI, we have
Yes.
we have AR, VR,
Yeah.
we have other, so it's not just mundane, fix this code, write this report. There's so many
Not
other
at
things. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of variety of technologies and interesting projects I see around. Like when I talk to our employees on the floor, daily I learn something new. That's all knowledge for me. And I'm not a technical person, so it interests me a lot how you did it.
But that's important because you actually process of recruiting people and you'll understand. Okay.
Yeah. That's how it helps me to hire people.
Yeah. My niece is a recruiter at Google. And
Oh, wow.
when I asked her, she said, look, as important as technology is, it's also that attitude of trying and learning that they look
Very
for
much.
and they hire.
Very
Which
much.
I think, even at Infogen, we have set up the same kind of,
Yes.
environment.
Yes.
That is good. Yeah. So,
Awesome. So, Subbu, I've been observing you since quite a long time now in this call. I can feel, I can see, I can observe that you're very calm. You're, uh, you have thought over things when you have said it. And as in the start, you mentioned Mahabharata. Again, as I said earlier, it's my personal also. I'm not great. I mean, I'm not a Sanskrit person where I could read the original Mahabharata and understand it, but I've been watching serials, listening podcasts where some experts coming and talking about it. I am curious to know, like, what is your learning from Mahabharata? What are maybe we can, I know it's not easy to sum up, but the 3 lessons that you would share with us.
very good. I mean, look, I did go through Kovida. Bharati Vidya Bhavan is a great Sanskrit institution. Unfortunately, when you get into engineering, it's hard. Sanskrit is a very beautiful language. I would love to get back to it. I can read Devanagari, but I cannot interpret and learn. Luckily, remember I was listening. I listened to scholars, and I personally know a few who have studied it. So Mahabharata, it's there is the divinity and other aspects of it, but the most important aspect in Mahabharata, it gives stories that explains how we can tackle. I'll give one small story which is not very popular, but Arjuna's son Abhimanyu is dead in the war.
Yeah.
And Arjuna doesn't know that yet.
Correct.
And then he's walking, and Krishna is with him. And Krishna, of course, knows that. As they're walking, they watch a person who looks like a sage trying to jump into the fire. And Arjuna goes and grabs him and said, why are you doing this? You're not in the war. And why are you jumping into the fire? The sage says, I loved my son very dearly, and my son abruptly died. All this knowledge that I have acquired became useless because without my son, I'm nobody. So what is the purpose of life? But don't you have students that depend on you? And Arjuna gives him the advice. Don't you have all the things that you're doing? Because he had just learned all that from the Bhagavad Gita, right?
Correct.
So he gives all the advice. And then the sage says, you are so right. Okay? There is other people depend on me. I should not sacrifice my life. And he walks away.
Mhm.
It is true that Krishna created the drama. That
Correct.
stage was actually a creation of Krishna. But you see how that lesson was taught. When Arjuna came home and saw Abhimanyu, Krishna did not speak a word.
Correct.
Just walked. And Arjuna suddenly realized what that whole learning of Gita, what was it in practice? That was one story.
Yeah.
The other story is in Karna. Okay. And Karna goes and asks Krishna, everything you are partial to the Pandavas. I understand. I was on the wrong side of the fence. I understand all that. When Karna is dying, when Krishna goes to him, okay, he just asks, but is knowledge denied to everybody? Should knowledge be given to everybody? Why did you give the Bhagavad Gita only to Arjuna? Isn't that parochial? Is that you're divine? How could divine be partial? Yes, I was committed to Duryodhana. He did the wrong thing. I deserve what I got. I'm not complaining. But how can you do this? Then Krishna says, you know what he says? You are the very Bhagavad Gita that I gave Arjuna. You didn't need it. He needed it. The second, okay, in Mahabharata. Third lesson in Mahabharata is what it was very interesting. The culprits are not apparent. Most people think of culprit as Duryodhana and all. In life also, the real culprits are not very evident. The real culprit was Bhishma, according to what Krishna says, because he took an oath and that oath caused all the war. The real culprit was Dhritarashtra because of his son's love. Okay? So the culprits and Dharmaraya, what right does he have to put his wife on the dice game? What Shastra says that? Okay? So he is supposed, these were the three culprits there. Now, when you say that, everybody will shudder and think, oh my God, you're calling these big people. But that's what Mahabharata is, showing that what is, don't judge people, judge everything around it. Okay?
Correct.
This is I don't know if Mahabharata is too big, but I gave three.
It's true. Yeah. Two stories were completely new for me also. I mean, the first two stories were completely new for. I mean, I agree. Mahabharata is huge, and I mean, my life changed completely after understanding the Gita, and I'm still learning. I also understand that based on one's environment, mental strength, and situation, whether you read Gita daily or it's monthly or whatever time span, every time you get a new message based on the situation.
Absolutely.
Right. Because like for me, if I'm in some thought process, I'm not getting answer. I believe I get some Insta reels related to that topic from Mahabharata, and I'm at least able to move forward. So I learn a lot, and Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita has changed my life completely.
And by the way, these stories, I just listened and people who shared this, and this story stuck to me so much deeper than, of course, you've got the Gita. So many things you can look at, but the examples of these three literally said, wow, this is Gita in practice.
Yeah, true. I'll just take a couple of last more questions because, I'm really enjoying a lot talking with you. I mean, I feel I've lost a lot of time working with Infogen and not talking to you, to be honest. So what will be your message for the youth today?
Very, very good question. I have got my daughter who is 30 getting married next in 2 months.
Oh,
And what there is so much information today, so much information which we did not have. And the source of information today, for example, we've got not only information that is existing but created from tools like Bard, and so now there is things that are created. The best advice I can give is, in general, there is fairness. It's hard to see, just like I mentioned, there's fairness in the system. It looks very bad. Okay. It is especially, there is some unusually bad things that have happened by people. Like, for example, I'll be very bold. I shouldn't say this in a podcast, but things like caste system, gender bias, these are all things, which are practiced, which are beyond description. So that evil has come because of misinformation and misknowledge. I believe that if you truly start understanding what is information, what is knowledge, it's not just technical, in your personal life as well, and absorbing it. There is only one thing, and not rush into judgment. You see things, so many things look very irrational. It's very difficult, particularly today. And if you start taking that, the main thing is today to maintain that balance. In Sanskrit, we call it samatva. Okay. And the youth today are needed. The older generations are filled with biases. There is caste, creed, color, gender biases that have propagated through, which are not. So rather than blame the scriptures, rather than blame somebody, if the youth come forward and come with that openness to learn and break the barriers that the older generations like us have created, frankly, okay? Many in the generations have created biases. It is crazy, north, east, west, south. Today, all those youth have dismantled that, okay? There is no north, south, east, west, okay? There's people. And I think there is no, my daughter is marrying an American. She's marrying somebody who's going to become my son-in-law. That does, so I was raised as a Brahmin in a priestly family. I'm an assistant priest in a temple. But and the boy came and asked me, is that okay? I said, at least what I understand life, the only thing that is not okay is hurting others. Everything else is okay. If we accept that, if we respect others and don't hurt others, the youth today already have this. So my only message to the youth is, wake up, come forward, and take leadership. Please, today is desperate. The times of discrimination should disappear. We should not look at gender and say, I'm a woman, give me a job. No, I'm good, and give me a job. There is nothing. There is no gender bias. So in America, sadly, believe it or not, 27% only of women have equal positions. 73% don't, even in America. So even in America, there's a bias. There's a gender bias. Okay. We have to go past everything: gender, caste, creed, color, religion, everything. And the youth are best positioned because today you guys don't have those biases. Okay. My daughter didn't have that bias. I'm fortunate to have that. So move on. That's my message.
Yes. I mean, as you rightly said, right? One, acceptance is important. Respect for each other. I mean, whether it's human or anything else, respect is equally important, and accepting the way things are, and then doing the required, bringing the required changes, right? I mean, I agree. I mean, today's youth have that power, and we all are willing to do that for sure. I mean, from my end, I can assure you that. Great, great. So that's all from my side. I mean, I have a lot of things in my mind, but I know we have a time limitation. So
This is
Maybe
good.
I'll have one more session with you.
I
Don't
just want to add one thing. There's a lot of talk of AI. Okay. There's a lot of talk of things changing.
Yes.
Because I've been hearing the discussion. I don't have a strong opinion. I'm learning. But one thing,
Mhm.
there is prediction and there is judgment.
Correct.
I still believe human intuition has better judgment capabilities than AI.
Completely agree.
Okay. I believe that. Now, AI can create music. I'm not saying that. AI can create paintings, which are probably very good, but I still believe the human intuition. So I'm a believer that the soul of everybody is the same and
Correct.
it cannot be challenged. That's why we should respect everyone. I want to, because people talk of AI, everything. AI is a great way to recognize. And the last thing, I do want to say one thing. I'm very proud. As much as I believe everything, I'm very proud of the samskruti that our culture has taught of
Yes.
tolerance. And so I must say, and these people will say, shouldn't you be proud to be a human? Yes, but I'm also very proud to be born in that Samskriti.
Oh, yes, for sure.
I'm feel
Yeah.
blessed.
I mean, just before this podcast, I came across one video which was talking all about what Mahabharata has taught us is tolerance. I mean, I could just click it when you said that. And yeah, I mean, tolerance, as you said, we are all one by soul, part of Paramatma, obviously. So I mean, I feel so much connected over here because something which I've learned and I've started believing is the same you are also on the same. I mean, it's the vibe that is matching or the
Thank you
same
so much.
language we are speaking. I'm so happy for that.
Thank you so much. Would be happy to come on. Good questions. So all the
Thank
people
you.
at Infogen, I'm very proud member to be there. Anytime, any Infogen member is welcome to come home. We will be proud and brag this. We make one of the best coffee, so you can always come home to my home in US. If you just say you're an Infogen employee, you're driving by, you can come visit us and have coffee. Okay, anytime.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time
Yes.
and have a great week ahead.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye bye.